So whenever a new Smash Brothers game is announced, there's really only one thing on everyone's minds: who's going to be in it? This is Gamespeak's Super Smash Bros. 4 roster predictions.
Starting off with my roster, I have 11 newcomers along with 2 cuts. Now, I'm going to start off with the newcomers, not counting the 3 we already know. I am going to start with one we have seen before though, and that's Mewtwo. I'm adding in Mewtwo because he appears in the new Pokemon movie Extreme Speed Genesect Mewtwo Awakens, where he is one of the main characters. Another reason I want to add him in is because of the new Mega Form Evolution that's appearing in the Gen 6 games. I believe the Mega Form Evolution would be a very good way to incorporate his Final Smash into the game. And also, don't forget, Mewtwo was supposed to be in Brawl. His data was found in the game, they just removed him due to time constraints. Next newcomer on my list is Chrom. I add Chrom in because he's the main character of the newest Fire Emblem game, which is one of the highest rated Fire Emblems along with one of the highest rated 3DS games. I believe Chrom would be a little bit different than Ike and Marth, just enough to fit into the game. Next newcomer is Palutena. I add her because she has a very active role in the newest game, Kid Icarus Uprising, which is a game that was revived by Sakurai himself. I believe Palutena would have access to a lot of different attacks in Smash Brothers, such as her magic, along with claws and her staff as well. Next newcomer is one of the most requested and expected newcomers in the game, and that's Little Mac. He has already appeared in Brawl as an assist trophy, and also the Wii Punch-Out game is a very recent game, still keeping his popularity up pretty high. He is already a fighter, which means he should fit into the new Smash Brothers game just fine. Also, another thing that stands out to me are the similarities between the boxing ring stage shown in the trailer and the Wii Punch-Out game. The last part I want to point out is the leak. One of the most popular leaks that there are that came out right before E3, which shows that the Wii Fit Trainer, Mega Man, Villager, Pac-Man, me, and Little Mac will all appear in the game. Of course, only 3 of them were announced so far, but it's a pretty good start considering they were very unexpected characters. Speaking of the leak, my next newcomer is Pac-Man. I think the leak will go pretty far in showing that he might just appear in the game, along with the fact that Namco is working on the game along with Nintendo, and Namco are the owners of Pac-Man. Not to mention, he is one of the most popular third-party choices. Sticking with the leak one more time, my next character is the Mii. I think they would fit in the game very well because they can be customizable and look pretty much however you want them to, just like in any other game they appear in. I also think they can have a very large moveset potential with all the different games they appear in. My next newcomer is one of the most requested but most debated newcomers, and that's Ridley from the Metroid series. Now, he is very, very debatable. A lot of people say he's too big. I think the resizing is possible. He is possibly the most requested character in the West right now, which I hope will be enough to get him in the roster. Now, with the update that they showed in late August, where they show a new Metroid stage saying that one of Samus's old enemies could appear at any time, does say that there's a very good chance Ridley could just be a stage hazard. I did this roster a while back, and Ridley is the character I want more than anybody, so I'm going to stick along with him. I do believe Metroid does deserve another rep, so I think using the most popular antagonist in the game is a good way to go. My next newcomer and final newcomer is Dixie Kong. Now, I wanted to decide between her and King K. Rool, but I decided to go with Dixie Kong considering she's going to appear in the new game, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. A lot of people are worried that she could be a clone to Diddy, but I think it will be very easy to give Dixie Kong new attacks, including things like her hair. As for my cuts, I only have 2. My first cut is kind of painful because he's one of my main characters, but my first cut is Snake. I'm saying Snake because he's not quite relevant enough to Nintendo to stick around, considering Sakurai says he doesn't want to overdo third-party characters. And I kinda like to think Snake was more just a surprise pick for Brawl, which makes me think maybe he won't come back for the next one as well. My second and final cut is Toon Link. Now, I had him in my roster at first, but I decided to cut him mostly because of the fact he appears in the 3DS stage. Now, while this doesn't exactly mean he's going to be cut, I think it does go a long way into saying he very well could be. I think he might take the same route that Young Link did and get switched out for every different Smash Brothers game, which I think means he could be replaced by another Zelda character such as Toon Zelda, whose data did appear in Brawl for a little bit, or even a character I wouldn't mind seeing maybe Classic Link as well. So overall my roster consists of 11 newcomers including Mewtwo, Chrom, Palutena, Little Mac, Pac-Man, me, Ridley, and Dixie Kong, as well as the 3 that were already announced with Mega Man, Wii Fit Trainer, and Villager. The cuts will be Snake and Toon Link. While I do hope to see another Zelda character appear in place of Toon Link, like I said, maybe Classic Link would be my most preferred one, I don't know for a fact that it will happen. And Ridley is very debatable. He might not appear in this. He's a very good chance of not appearing, but I'm still going to hold my breath and hope that he will.
Okay, now it's time for my roster. Now, one thing in mind before I say my picks. Smash Brothers has always been a great game, but it also has been a great marketing strategy for Nintendo. E.g. example, when Melee came out, Marth and Roy were put into the game without anybody in America knowing what Fire Emblem was, and due to these two characters being placed in the game, the Fire Emblem game that was released on the Game Boy Advance, the sale for that game was just absolutely great, and the reception was fantastic. And I'm making these choices about the roster logically because the Wii U is struggling as a system right now, and Nintendo wants to rub the Wii U in other consoles' faces, and they want you to buy more games on the Wii U based on the characters that are in it. So let me start off. The 3 confirmed newcomers, of course, which should be Mega Man, Wii Fit Trainer, and Villager, which I still don't really understand what Wii Fit Trainer would contribute, but oh well. Chrom, for the obvious reason, like Jordan said, the new Fire Emblem Awakening game, which is amazingly popular, and they always like to put in Fire Emblem characters that are recent. That's why I'll explain why I took out Ike in a little bit. Mewtwo, for the same reason Jordan said, it was going to be in Brawl, but they decided not to because of the time constraints and the new Mega Evolution. Pac-Man, for, like Jordan said, Namco is involved in this game, and there's rumored to be a lot of classic characters in this game, so I put Pac-Man in. Next, I have Balloon Fighter as a newcomer. I really am kind of iffy about this one still. It is rumored to have a lot of support, and I do think Balloon Fighter would bring an interesting moveset to the game, and I would like to play as Balloon Fighter. And it goes along with the whole theme of a couple classic characters. So I just picked Balloon Fighter as just like a wild card pick. Next up, Bayonetta. Now, Bayonetta is sort of controversial because Bayonetta 2 is an exclusive for the Wii U and it will be coming out later on. People that played the original Bayonetta on like the Xbox and the PS3 really liked the game. So they were kind of upset that the producers of Bayonetta signed an exclusive deal, making Bayonetta 2 an exclusive for the Wii U. And the Wii U is suffering right now, so I see Bayonetta as a classic marketing strategy to just put it into the new Smash Brothers game and to get more people to buy the exclusive. Next up, I have Bomberman. I think Bomberman would be an interesting pick, and again, it's going into the whole theme of kind of classic characters. Maxwell from Scribblenauts I put in there because Scribblenauts has been a pretty unique game and popular game on a lot of Nintendo systems, including Scribblenauts Unlimited for the Wii U. They are going to try to put franchises that are on the Wii U in this game, and since the Wii U doesn't really have a lot of games on it right now, it is going to take whatever it can get, and I think Maxwell would bring a pretty interesting moveset to this game. Finally, I have Shulk from Xenoblade Chronicles, because Xenoblade Chronicles is one of the best RPGs ever. Its popularity is amazing. It's really hard to find a copy of it. New copies are going for like $100 right now on eBay, and it's pretty insane. But just the reception from that game is fantastic, and I do think that warrants him being in this game.
This time, it's my turn!
Now, let's talk about some cuts. I cut Snake because, kind of like Jordan said, it was kind of random for Snake to appear in Brawl, and I feel like it was short-lived. I don't really think he has a lot to contribute to because the franchise is so distant from Nintendo, because it's definitely a Sony thing, and they're trying to distance themselves from all the other competitors. While I still have Samus in the roster, I cut Zero Suit Samus because I just think it was sort of kind of like a gimmicky thing, and no one really liked Zero Suit that much. It was an interesting concept, but they have to remove some things. I cut Rob because I thought it was just a random filler for Brawl, and Brawl wasn't really played that often, and really wasn't one of the better characters. King DDD I cut because I felt that his inclusion in Brawl was a little bit random too. It was just another heavy character. People are really, really good as him, but it does take a lot of training to get really good as King DDD, and I can see him as a likely cut. I mean, he might be in the next game, but I could see him as a cut. Lucas will probably be cut because he had his time to shine. We don't even have an official release of Mother 3 in America, and I don't really see them planning to release it anytime soon. They did release Earthbound for the download on the Wii U shop channel, so they might release Mother 3, but if they don't, I doubt Lucas will be in. I'm going to put these two together. I cut both Falco and Wolf because Sakurai said that he was going to try to cut down on clone characters, and I sort of, while Wolf is different from Fox and Falco, I sort of include him in the same idea as the other two characters. So Fox will be in it for sure because he's classic, but I could see, as far as likely cuts go, that they would probably be cut. Next up, I cut Pokemon Trainer because I think it was, again, kind of gimmicky, and it was kind of hard to strategize because you had to change out Pokemon. And it was an interesting idea. Maybe they could keep him in and just change the Pokemon. I could see that happening, but if not, he's probably going to get cut altogether. I cut Lucario because Lucario was just, he just wasn't very good, and no one really played as Lucario, and if Mewtwo's going to be in it, I see Lucario as an insta-cut. My next one probably won't be liked, but I did cut Ike from this list. I feel like Ike had his place in time. Ike has shined during the Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, Fire Emblem games, which came out a long time ago. He really isn't talked about a lot anymore, and I feel like Ike is about to hand the torch over to Chrom. And I feel like the next Fire Emblem game that comes out that becomes really popular, and if there's another Smash Brothers, they'll cut Chrom and put in the new person. But Ike has had his time and will have his place in Fire Emblem history, but I think we can't put too many Fire Emblem people in the next game. And finally, I cut Sonic because I don't really feel that it's necessary to include Sonic again. Sonic was sort of just the person everybody wanted to see in Brawl, and once he was in there, and it kind of felt okay, but other than that, I just wanted to cut him because I don't feel like he fits very well. When I was making this roster, I didn't want it to be too big because I felt like the Brawl roster was too big, so I tried to make this more compact. I mean, you can still see I have people on there from the first game, and that was in Melee, and you can see I still have Toon Link in there because I think that with Wind Waker HD being released for the Wii U, they're going to include Toon Link also because he was my favorite one to play as in Brawl.
So that concludes Gamespeak's roster predictions. Tell us whose roster you think is better. Also, tell us who you think we should add in and who else you think we should cut.
And keep a lookout for our next video where Jordan and I will go head-to-head debating what's wrong with each other's rosters. This is Gamespeak, signing out.